This week, Angelo chats to Nick Griffiths, one of the brains behind new Australian mobile sensation Buy Somewhere. We find out what the future might hold for Alienware now that the company's recovered from its anniversary in 2016, and Johnny catches up with Deck 13 to find out more about The Surge, a challenging sci-fi RPG that should appeal to fans of Dark Souls. This is Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this week Horizon Zero Dawn is breaking still more records. In just 2 weeks of sales, the action RPG from Guerrilla Games has sold more than 2.6 million units, making it not just the best debut title from the developer, but the best-selling first-party IP launch on the PS4 to date. Guerrilla Games is already promising that this is only the beginning of Aloy's story, but at this stage at least, everybody is keeping quiet on just when we'll be able to pick it back up again. Keep in mind that Horizon was more than 5 years in development, so a sequel is probably still a long way off. Another game that did take at least 5 years to get to us is Mass Effect Andromeda, which is finally out right now for Windows PC, PS4 and Xbox One. And while the internet was almost universally hyped for this one, the weeks before launch saw gamer expectations shattered following the release of a playable trial. Their problems weren't with the gameplay, or the story, or the locations, or the dialogue, or the new romance options. Instead, they were with the characters' facial animations, which, at times, weren't exactly the best. After a trailer for the game launched late last year featuring Sarah Ryder looking a bit like she was trying not to sneeze while disarming a Turian, BioWare brushed it off as a facial performance bug, and we thought no more of it. Seems that bug's still there though, and the studio is in no screaming rush to fix it. And why should they be? Characters staring blankly at times, blinking awkwardly, or smiling stiffly is hardly a game-breaking issue, but for some would-be fans, those few seconds and an oddly shiny skin tone are apparently enough to write off the entire expansive campaign, plus the infinite hours of multiplayer on offer. We, on the other hand, are still spending some quality time as the Pathfinder, and we'll share our thoughts when we come back to Earth. In other news, the long-awaited 4th ToeJam and Earl game is coming to Nintendo Switch thanks to Adult Swim. Bringing 9 playable characters, including both new and retro ToeJam and Earl's mum, this one really is back in the groove, returning to just about everything that made the original game so much fun more than 25 years ago. Expect random worlds making up 25 levels and a handful of music-based mini-games, as well as an intro mode for those who haven't experienced the game before. There's no release date just yet, but when it gets here, ToeJam and Earl Back in the Groove will arrive on Linux, Mac, Windows PC, PS4 and Xbox One, as well as Nintendo Switch. In a similar vein, those 2 new Sonic the Hedgehog games were shown off at South by Southwest, and retro fans are in for a treat. Sonic Mania looks like exactly what we've been waiting for, 2D platforming action where, you guessed it, you've got to go fast. The mysterious Sonic Project 2017 has also been given a name, Sonic Forces. And we still don't know much about this new modern Sonic, but Takashi Iizuka, head of Sonic Team, has labelled it an evolution of Sonic colours and Sonic generations, so we are more than a little intrigued. If your classic gaming tastes turn more to the cybernetic, you'll be thrilled to learn that Starbreeze has signed up to bring System Shock 3 to PC and other platforms. The game, currently in the early concept stages, has Warren Spector at the helm, as well as a dream team of developers. Starbreeze, the studio behind the Payday series, the 2012 Syndicate reboot, and publishers of the upcoming John Wick Chronicles, is throwing $12 million into the project.
Did you think I'd forgotten you, insect?
Want something more modern? How about Civilization 6? You can now try before you buy, as Firaxis has released a shiny new PC demo that lets you play through the tutorial as well as on a fixed map as Qin Shi Huang. Both options are locked to 60 turns each, but once you reach the end, you can start all over again, if you're not convinced. It is time to say goodbye to an old friend as Japan prepares to end production of the PlayStation 3. The 500 gig standard model is the only version being made in the country, and local sources say that will be ended this month, just over 10 years after the first PS3 console hit stores. In Nintendo news though, Super Mario Run is out now for Android devices, complete with the version 2 update. iOS gamers have been playing the game since December, with the timed Apple exclusive finally expiring on March 23. It has received mixed reviews, with most fans finding it a great game with a steep asking price. And a couple of juicy tidbits from Blizzard to finish off. The World of Warcraft developer is currently seeking more than $8.5 million in copyright damages from German cheatmaker Bossland. They're the ones behind software like Watch Over Tyrant, Honor Buddy and Demon Buddy, and Blizzard has taken them to court on cases of copyright infringement, unfair competition and violating the DMCA's anti-circumvention laws. Blizzard also claims the bots and cheats have cost millions of dollars in lost sales. Now, Bossland claims it's sold almost 120,000 products to US users since 2013. It's claimed a minimum 36% of these were cheats for Blizzard games, a conservative estimate of around 42,000 infringements. With minimum statutory damages at $200 per infringement, the company is seeking $8,563,600. The German company is trying to have the case dismissed, however, saying US courts have no jurisdiction in the matter. And sticking with Blizzard, it's time for a little rumour watch. A Korean esports website has reported the publisher is getting ready to release an updated version of classic RTS StarCraft around the middle of the year.
Locked in and cruising.
What you got for me out there, Joey Ray?
We got tariff for sure. I don't know about the rest. We got a big old buttload of floating debris out here. We hit pay dirt this time for sure.
Gameplay would be the same as StarCraft Brood War, with Battle.net upgraded to modern standards and all graphics given a high-res overhaul. Allegedly, details of the game were secretly revealed at last year's BlizzCon, but an official statement is yet to be made, and the company is staying very quiet on the topic. For more information on any of these games, or to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, we've got plenty more still to come.
Changing the world is easy. Governments, corporations, they've always done it. Until this is all that's left. Slowly roasting under the solar rays. Forged from imperfection, steeled by technology. We're the cogs in their machine. And yet we struggle on.
So you guys previously made Lords of the Fallen. So, robots, Lords of the Fallen, hard combat, right?
Exactly. So you really have a very, very new scenario. You have new ways of fighting, but this core dual one-on-one fight is still the core of the whole game.
We've got to manage our space, we've got to manage our attacks. What do we have at our disposal to make this happen?
Well, as we're in kind of a factory setting, we're not a military person. We're especially a guy who just had the first day on his new job, where he got fitted a very, very cool exoskeleton for heavy-duty work. He blacked out, he wakes up again, and, well, nothing is that it was before. So what we have as weapons, as tools, is what we find in this company when we try to survive there. So everything we see in the game, we can more or less pick up. Every enemy we fight, we can pick up their stuff after, yeah, we did some terrible things to our enemies first.
What can we expect to be fighting up against then?
Well, I mean, there are our former co-workers who have in some way gone insane. We don't really know what was going on. And as we try to find the people who are like still in operation, we also fight security robots, we fight disassembly drones that want to remove the trash that needs to be put to a new use, and they obviously regard us as a malfunctioning device, which is also very bad for us. And yeah, also hybrids between man and machine and whatever. There's a huge bandwidth of enemies that look and feel and behave very, very differently.
So first you find your shift manager, and then from there you're golden, right?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, this can be like a good relaxation after your workday in reality, right?
All right. Now listen. I'm sure you're smart enough to realize this area is under lockdown, quarantine, or whatever goddamn excuse they're using to get at me. I need to get out. We have to break this lockdown, and by we, I mean you.
Can we expect like a class system going to this, or is it very freeform?
Well, you don't really have like 3 classes at the beginning like we had with Lords of the Fallen, but you have one character you start with, but you can shape that character very, very much. So even more than with Lords of the Fallen. So there's a lot of things you can just pick up. We say there are always branches in the game where you say, okay, maybe I go this way, I take something heavy, or I take something light and speedy, or I take a strong weapon, or I take a defensive weapon, and so on. So I will shape my character. Also, I have kind of attributes in our game. These are implants that can be connected to your spinal system, and they give you HUD implants where you see stuff or see what, for example, enemy health bars. That's also an implant. You cannot just have it on the screen. You need to equip that to see like the life data of your enemies and stuff like that. So there's a lot that you can do to shape your character, but you don't have classes at the beginning.
Is it the kind of system with XP where you can just grind areas, or is it kind of like set levels of XP as you get through the game?
It's kind of XP, but here you collect, we call it tech scrap to advance, and you mainly use it, of course you can also level up, but you mainly use it to craft the stuff that you get from your enemies. So the whole game is focused around basically cutting off the limbs of my enemies. Either they're protected very weakly so I can defeat them faster, or I go for the cool loot and cut off a body part that is cool for me to use, be it a weapon or an armor part. And then I use my tech scrap to craft this at the crafting station, which we can imagine a little bit like being a super modern 3D printer. So I go there, analyze the stuff, which is maybe like the traditional RPG campfire where I analyze stuff, where I identify stuff. And this is what I do with this machine. And then I can craft it, or craft multiple items of this and work them as weapons, as gear, and so on.
And we were chatting a little bit earlier as well, and you said that this is not the kind of game that holds your hand. So we're going to have to do lots and lots of our own exploring and figuring out, right?
Yes, so the game will, compared to Lords of the Fallen, it's way less linear, and it goes horizontal, vertical, you name it, anything, and you need to find your own way. The game does not hold your hand, like you just said. There's like not this one thread leading you through the game, or if you just never go off the beaten path, you will just not have the equipment to defeat the bosses. So you really need to go somewhere, find the stuff that you want to have, and the more you explore, the more you will be rewarded. But you really need to pay attention to your environment. It always tells you stories, it gets you to NPCs, to side quests, to secret pathways, but you do need to find this on your own.
Does some of the equipment that you're talking about, the ones you can craft, does it open up alternate pathways as opposed to ones that you wouldn't be able to get unless you had certain types of gear?
Yes, exactly. So there are several places in the game where you say, oh, how can I go there? Like, it seems to be locked, or I have not enough power to overcome this barrier. And then later in the game you can craft stuff, you can improve yourself, and then you say, well, wait a minute, there was this door in the first level, I should go back there. And then you can go back there, and there's a lot waiting for you. We had this a little bit also in Lords of the Fallen, but here we really took it to the maximum and say, okay, you can really do a lot of backtracking, it's worth it, and especially because all the stuff, like all your armor, all the stuff you need, you take from your enemies. Also grinding is much more interesting, because like if you want to have a full set of armor, like 5 pieces, you need to defeat 5 enemies wearing this, and all like do a perfect finisher to get this one piece that you want to have. And then you can go craft this. So it's really interesting to fight enemies that you already fought, because you need to do it a new way, and you really get a cool reward to finish and complete a set or something like that.
Now, Jan, when can we expect to play this game, and what can we expect to play it on?
On Xbox One, on PlayStation 4, on PC, and it's coming out 2017.
We are human, so we fight. But are we fighting for our future or theirs?
Hi everyone, Angelo here at PAX at the Buy Somewhere booth with Nick.
Yes, hi. We're a Sydney-based studio. We started development on this project about 3 years ago, so it's been a long haul to get here. It's all been in stealth mode. Now this...
Walk me through what the game is.
So it's basically a location-based property tycoon game. So The idea is that you open up the game and it transforms the world around you into this massive board game. We've spent a lot of time investing in the actual environment of the game, so it was kind of my mandate to the team that I didn't want it to feel as though it was just a recolorized map. I wanted you to feel like you were actually in this game world where a level designer had come through and placed everything individually. So, needed to have raised parks and lowered waterways and flowing water and three-dimensional objects and houses and skyscrapers. And when you moved from an area like a highly residential area and you came closer and closer to the city, I wanted this massive skyscrapers to appear from over the horizon. So you really do feel like the board game world reflects the real world.
What do you do in Buy Somewhere in that case? I mean, you can kind of guess by the title, but how does the mechanics actually work for the game?
Yeah, so the object of the game is to build and expand your property empire. You can buy, sell, and steal property. So basically, the longer that you hold onto property, the more rent you get from that property. We've given a lot of consideration to venues, so what people do in their day-to-day lives. What we noticed from a lot of other location-based games is that if you weren't near certain things, there was no gameplay there, which was kind of frustrating, especially when people want to play a game, so to prevent them from doing that didn't really make sense for us. So the idea is basically you get up in the morning, you've got a certain amount of cash, you go out there, you invest it in certain kinds of properties. There's bonuses for collecting different numbers of properties in certain mini empires. Once you have those collections, you can come home and you can manage those properties. So you kick your shoes off, you turn the telly on, and then there's a whole other aspect to the game that you can start to play. The better managed your properties are, the better the return is, the better their defenses are. But as I mentioned before, you can also steal properties from friends. Yeah.
So it sounds like you have to kind of regularly check into these places in that case. So does it mean that, if, for example, we're from Adelaide, if I'm from Adelaide, I can't just, take something like the Eiffel Tower in Paris, can I? I have to actually be physically in that place.
You have to be physically at that place, but the cool thing is, and we're handing out these collectibles here today at the event, basically, once you get a property card, that effectively becomes your control panel for that property. So I don't have to go back to that property to collect rent. I have to have gone there once, or I can trade with a friend. So there are certain achievements for owning properties in multiple countries.
All right, so the game's developed in Australia, right, in Sydney?
100% Australian made. We started off as a team of 2. We've grown into a team of 15. I'm a massive Nintendo fan. One of the clearest memories in my head from when I was like 10 years old is when my mum, out of the blue, bought me a Super Nintendo. And that kind of set me on the trajectory that I am on today. I still have little baby teeth bite marks in my Super Nintendo controller from playing Super Mario All-Stars and not winning in Bowser's Castle and stuff like that. So they've been a massive inspiration to me. I think what they do really, really well, and with a game like this, is they have these mechanics that are inherently easy to understand, first off, but there's this very eloquent depth to everything that they do. We've taken a lot of those design principles and implemented them here, so it's easy for anyone to pick up, but there is a lot of depth in terms of how you take property, how you invest your money, all the rest of it.
So what platforms are we going to see this on? Obviously it's going to be mobile. Is there a reach for anything else, maybe a web-based sort of thing? Or?
Man, we've talked about it. So it's iOS and Android initially. We've talked about the idea of allowing you to manage your property portfolio remotely on kind of other devices, different interfaces for that. And, I mentioned before I'm a massive Nintendo fan, so if the Switch is GPS enabled...
that's sweet Nintendo.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. So you're saying you're in beta now, so when can we expect the game to sort of be ready for the public?
Early 2017. So that'll be an initial launch in Australia. We'll then roll it out to the rest of the world. So a lot of those 2 years has been spent on this automated layout engine. So obviously with the kind of design principle in place that the game world needed to feel as though someone had constructed it, it's not actually viable for someone to construct it. So we've got these really sophisticated layout algorithms that determine exactly where everything should sit and what data should be shown, what data is relevant to a player, what data isn't relevant to a player. So it was a massive challenge in and of itself. But the aim is 2017, people can sign up for the beta today, buysomewhere.com, and then the rest of the world soon after.
So when I think about the future that we're trying to build at Alienware, there's obviously great products coming. We're going to be big in VR. We believe that that is absolutely the future of gaming and interaction in the home and even out of the home. But in 2009, we started a community site called Alienware Arena. Since then, it's grown in scope and it's gone into more countries. But a year and a half ago, we started really getting engaged with our community around our Twitch channel, our YouTube channel. And what we found is that our customers like that engagement with us. They like getting close to us. I know in what I do and what my team does, they can't get enough of it as well. We fight over who gets to be on the next AMA or who gets to go out and talk to customers and that kind of thing. Certainly, I've been here at PAX for 3 years here in Australia, just meeting the Australian audience. Last year I spent 9 weeks in Australia, just trying to understand the community here and the gaming sort of scene in general. So when I think about what we're trying to do in the next 10 years, it's centered around great products, sure, but it's how do we keep engaging the community, get them more involved. We now use our community to help us even with product ideas. We're even using Roxy, who's on our US stream, as one of our product input persons. So we really do absolutely want to make this a community company more so than just a hardware company. When VR came out, we were going to be, at launch, at their introduction, certified products. We made the commitment then that every product we launch this year will have a VR capability within the box. All of our new notebooks that we just launched, 13, 15, 17, all do have a VR config or higher VR config. Aurora, of course, our new generation of desktops, it of course has a VR configuration, and even the upgraded Alpha we came out with, the 2.2 liter box, you can upgrade to a VR config by adding our graphics amplifier. So just those products, everything we've done in the last 12 months, you can plug Oculus or HTC in. And in fact, we do certification with the company to make certain that it does work because it's not that simple. But when I think about what's going on and what's happening next year and the year after that and the year after that, at CES Asia this year, there were 30, 50, 60 different headset companies all looking to find a home. And I think that what we're going to see next year, this year was about games, but most importantly, it was about content. And both of these headset companies, Oculus and HTC, have built an ecosystem of content now around gaming. We're going to see cinema, we're going to see entertainment, we're going to see a whole plethora of indie developers coming on scene to get into this as well. Microsoft just announced they're getting into the headset business. So the content is really going to explode next year. It's still going to be great in gaming. I think we're going to see some really neat stuff next year in gaming. But even in cinema, I mean, just being at home and watching a movie on a headset, and you're all of a sudden on an IMAX screen that you can't even see the edges of. So I think when we look at next year, it's still going to be growing. The year after that, I think everything here at the show will be AR or VR, and we're all in. We're betting the company on it, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. UFO wreckage is discovered and seized by military personnel. It is speculated that the alien technology recovered has been applied to modern-day innovations. To this day, the government denies any existence of alien technology.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, we're shrinking things right down as we check out a bunch of the best titles you can fit in your pocket, including a whole stack of smartphone games made right here in Australia. In the meantime, you can catch us at playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. And if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com, or just hop on our forums. Also, if you want to support Player Attack, you can find us on Patreon and help us bring you the latest in gaming news, plus all these wonderful interviews and reviews from the world of video games. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.